Local 4 News begins right now with a breaking news alert.
A colossal day of news in Detroit. President Obama in town to tout the auto industry and the city's comeback.
There's only one Motor City. There's only one Detroit.
Meanwhile, a mass sick-out shuts down almost every Detroit public school, and those teachers were ready to greet the president when he got to Cobo.
All this as Governor Snyder has just released all of his emails in the Flint water crisis. The defenders have a first look.
It is all coming up, but first, the story you have not heard yet today, a bombshell in the Bashara case. Joe Gentz, the man who admitted to killing Jane Bashara, is trying to take it all back. He now says Bob Bashara had nothing to do with his wife's death. Good to have you with us today for Local 4 News at 5. A lot coming up, but let's start here with this truly stunning twist today in the case of Bob Bashara.
Stunning it is, Devin. Joe Gentz, you remember, he was the man who played a key role in Bob Bashara's conviction. Well, he's changing his story in a major way that could pave the way for a brand new trial for Bob Bashara. Let's get right to our Sean Lay. And Sean, what's going on here?
Carmen, we're starting with this because jaws could be dropping here all across Metro Detroit. Here's the deal. Joe Gentz has been talking in prison to an inmate. The result of those talks, this signed affidavit from Joe Gentz saying that he and he alone acted in the murder of Jane Bashara, that Bob Bashara had nothing to do with it. In fact, it's a signed document already filed in the court. Here's Joe Gentz's signature there. That means he is risking perjury under the penalty of perjury that he says he is now telling the truth. The bottom line to all this is that legal experts are saying it's a complete game changer for Bob Bashara, calling this affidavit from Joe Gentz a gift dropping right in Bob Bashara's lap. The sworn affidavit was filed just last week. Joe Gentz changing his story again, this time saying he told investigators from the start, quote, "I alone did it." Gentz telling these new details to a fellow inmate inside the Macomb Correctional Facility. That inmate relaying Gentz's word to a private investigator who then presented Bob Bashara's new attorney with this affidavit signed by Joe. Gentz saying, quote, "I could not longer live knowing that Mr. Robert Bashara was completely innocent," and further explained to him that Mr. Robert Bashara was not even in his house when I killed his wife. Will this new twist get Bob Bashara a new trial? Local 4 legal analyst Neil Rockheim.
You can't get any more compelling than the gunman in a sworn affidavit swearing under the penalty of perjury that he acted alone.
Back here live, we're just scratching the surface of what Joe Gentz is saying in his affidavit now. This has been admitted into court. There's going to be a hearing on this coming up at the second week of February. Coming up live at 6 o'clock, we're going to hear the very words of Joe Gentz, what he said then, what he's saying now, Carmen, in this affidavit. Back to you.
If you remember, Sean, Joe Gentz refused to testify against Bob Bashara in the original trial. Has he changed his stance on that as well?
As a matter of fact, he thought he was going to get some kind of deal from prosecutors. He didn't get that. He refused to testify. Now he is saying here that if I'm called to testify, I will do so to the facts attested with herein this affidavit. Joe Gentz's words here. We'll see how far this flies in court. Could result, though, in a new trial for Bob Bashara.
All right, our Sean Lay reporting for us live.
And I know that if I was a parent up there, I would be beside myself that my kid's health could be at risk. And that's why over the weekend I declared a federal emergency in Flint to send more resources on top of the assistance that we've already put on the ground.
The president's first public comments a short time ago on the crisis in Flint came here in Detroit.
And meanwhile, in fact, we've just received the Flint emails Governor Snyder promised last night during his State of the State address. Let's bring in Defender Kevin Dietz, who is live in the newsroom. More than 200 pages to go through, Kevin. I know you haven't gotten through all of them yet, but what do they say so far?
That's right. What did the governor know and when did he know it? The defenders are going to go through each and every of the 274 emails released today to find out exactly that. They were just released a little after 4:30 today, and already we found interesting emails. This one all the way back on February 1st when the governor was in the email chain where it's clearly stated that the quality of the water in Flint is a high-profile concern. And then just as recently as September 23rd, another email that goes to Governor Rick Snyder, this one from his chief of staff, that says, I think they're playing politics, that this may be a political issue. And he goes on to say, and let me show you a full screen here because I want you to see what they're saying here. The chief of staff goes on to say, I'm not sure how much background you need on all of this, so I don't want to flood you with stuff. Then just a few days after that, the governor says he's in a sit-down meeting and he finds out everything. Let's listen to the background story on this.
We need to make sure this never happens again in any Michigan city.
An angry Governor Rick Snyder told the state he was outraged that critical information was not reaching his desk, his emails being voluntarily released today. His staff says they show Governor Snyder was left out of discussions of serious health risks in Flint. An investigation is underway.
We are actively investigating why these agencies got it so wrong.
The governor says he found out September 28th, but should have known back on April 25th when EPA water expert Miguel Del Toro sent emails to multiple people with the state saying, I'm worried that the whole town may have much higher lead levels than the compliance results indicated. Then on June 24th, Del Toro sent a 5-page memo reinstating his concerns. His warnings apparently never reached the governor. On September 17th, the head of the MDEQ, Dan Wyant, sent a letter to the governor's staff saying the water was tested and was fine. 11 days later, the governor was told state officials got it wrong. So the governor should have been notified multiple times that there was a serious problem in Flint. Every time one of those warning letters came from the EPA to the DEQ, someone on the governor's staff was notified, and they should have told the governor, but they didn't. The governor seemed upset about that last night in the State of the State address, and he says he's not going to let that happen again. But what we need to do is look at each and every one of these emails and find out when the governor was included on the emails and what it says in here. Was there something in here that should have triggered the governor to say, hey, I need more information. I want to know everything there is to know about Flint. The governor told us that all of these emails will show that he did not have enough information in these emails that triggered his brain to say, I need to sit down with everyone involved in this and find out exactly what's going on in Flint until the 28th of September. So there's a lot of more emails to read. We're just getting through them. We'll have much more on this as Local 4 continues tonight. But right now, we want to go up to the front lines in Flint, where Help Me Hank and Hank Winchester have been working hard to make sure that people are getting good, clean water and filters up in Flint. Hank, what's been the reaction to all of this news today?
Kevin, people here in Flint obviously watching it very closely. The priority, though, getting that water to people, as you mentioned, that desperately need it. Today, the Michigan Guard going into Flint neighborhoods. This, as the leader of this city, the Flint mayor, makes her way to D.C. working to get more federal funding.
We know we didn't deserve what happened to us, and we deserve more support. We deserve more resources and finances as a result of what happened.
Flint's mayor in D.C. today, fighting for more funding for her city.
Those are some good first steps, but Flint needs more help. And so that's one of the reasons I was glad to be here, because it gave me the opportunity to talk with the president as well.
Flint Mayor Karen Weaver arrived in Washington yesterday. She met with the president's team and then met with President Barack Obama, urging more federal funding to help repair Flint's water mess.
How you doing today? All right. Good. You need water refilled? Sure do. Okay.
Back in Flint today, the Michigan National Guard in Flint neighborhoods now going door to door, handing out water and filters, checking on those in need.
Oh yes, very happy because we really do need the water.
More than 70 members of the Guard now in Flint, a dramatic change from what we saw a week ago when just 7 members of the Guard were dispatched to help deal with this huge crisis.
I'm holding up. I've just been going out of town a lot. I've been going to visit my daughters. It makes me stay longer about the situation than coming here, you know, dealing with all this, because you still got to bathe in it. That's the part right there.
There's still so many concerns. The key, though, is getting water to those who need it. And I'm thrilled to tell you that our Help Me Hank water drive in partnership with Art Band, a huge success. It is ongoing, but tonight at 6 o'clock, you're going to see what happened today. 10 trucks filled with water, making it to those who need it the most. We're live here in downtown Flint. Hank Winchester, back to you.
Hank, of course, the president was in the Detroit area, did not make it to Flint today, but apparently members of his, I guess, White House team were in Flint.
Yes, Devin. Even though President Barack Obama didn't physically make his way here, members of his team, of his cabinet did. They made their way here early this morning. They are meeting with different leaders here, trying to figure out what resources are available. And then they say they will be in touch with the president and the mayor to figure out the next step. Back to you.
All right, Hank.
Well, adding to a day already full of big developments,
Yeah.
President Obama in Detroit taking a tour of the North American International Auto Show.
That tour and another stop at the GM UAW Center just wrapped up. Rod Maloney's been following the president all day, and he joins us from his last stop in downtown Detroit. And Rod, really a visit to tout the comeback of Detroit.
Right. Well, he was talking about so many different things today, but essentially he was taking yet another victory lap for having turned around the auto industry, the decision he made back in 2009 when he first became president and allowed General Motors and Chrysler to go through the quick rinse bankruptcy. Now, it was an eventful day. He started at the Jolly Pumpkin over by the Shinola factory, and he visited both today, said that he already had a Shinola watch, so he didn't buy one, said the food was good, and then moved on to Kobo. Now, he's the third president of the United States to actually tour the auto show, and the poll reports are telling us a couple of interesting things. One, he did an Elmore Leonard reference when he visited the Pacifica, saying that it was a cool minivan, much like they talked about on the old Get Shorty book and movie. He also stopped and looked at the Corvette on his way to the Chevy Bolt. The Corvette caught his eye. He was looking at that. He said that he was actually doing some car shopping today because he knows before too long he's going to have to give up the beast and actually have his own set of wheels. So he said he went car shopping, and when he got here to the GM UAW Center, he talked a lot about that part of this and also the UAW's place along with GM in the turnaround of the auto industry.
So I figured that I needed to do a little browsing now at the Detroit Auto Show. I know they've got auto shows in Paris and Frankfurt and Tokyo, but there's only one Motor City.
Now, the president used this. The president used this as, in many ways, a political rally to talk about his policies and the way he turned around the auto industry, and that's how things should go into the future, maligning some of the Republican presidential candidates. And he talks a little bit more about what happened back in those bad old days and how the city and also how the industry has bounced back.
And I placed my bet on you. And after visiting auto plants across the Midwest and seeing what you have done firsthand, let me tell you, I'd make that same bet any day of the week, because today factories are humming, business is booming, the American auto industry is all the way back.
Now, the president told an interesting story about a girl who was 13 years old back in the bad old days and worried about her dad's auto supply business. And he tells that whole story. And in fact, we're going to have an interview with her, the young girl who happened to be here today. And she's now almost 20 years old. And we'll talk to her and her dad and hear from the president about that. So for now, live at the GM UAW Training Center in downtown Detroit, Rod Maloney, back to you.
Yeah, she was 13 years old when she wrote that letter.
A thrill for a lot of people there today, no doubt about it. More coming up from Rod. Now to the roller coaster ride that we've been watching on Wall Street today.
That's right. The Dow finished the day down about 250 points. However, it dropped more than 550 earlier in the day.
Oil prices getting much of the blame. Today they dropped to their lowest levels since 2003. Well, after months of delays, the trial in the murder of April Millsap is finally underway.
And new tonight, we take you inside the courtroom for the opening statements coming up. Nick?
Tenants in an apartment say they have been living here for days without heat. The apartment management saying they know nothing about it. Find out what happens when we take it to them.
Well, unlike the stock market, temperatures are going to flatline tonight right around the upper teens. That's not quite as cold as what we've seen in the last few days. So the snow's gone. The coldest of the year is out of here. All sounds like good news, right? Check it out coming up.
A lot going on today on the Detroit teacher sick-out front. First of all, we're hearing about possible new legislation for Detroit schools. An ousted president tries to get his job back. But will it mean kids will be in school tomorrow? That story is coming up.
All right, Paula, and right now, Local 4 Defender Kevin Dietz and other members of our news team going over those emails that have just been released here within the last 30 minutes by Governor Snyder's office relative to the Flint water crisis. We will have breaking updates throughout this newscast and on clickondetroit.com. We'll be right back.
new at 6.
Blowing right through the stop signs, one local man had enough of drivers making his neighborhood less safe, so he decided to take action.
Also, Macomb County massage parlor shut down. Now these 4 women are in trouble for what police say they were offering their male clients.
Now to new developments in the saga of Detroit Public Schools. 88 of 97 DPS schools were closed today following a mass teacher sick-out in the district. Now there's a move to prevent these sick-outs from happening again. Let's get to Paula Tutman. She's been following the story for us all day. She joins us now live. And Paula, walk us through what's being done to stop these sick-outs.
Well, Carmen, a really fast-moving day today. First of all, I just got confirmation from the Detroit School District that they have filed court paperwork to try to keep teachers from being able to do these sick-outs. Also, long day for appeals for Steve Kahn, the ousted DFT president, trying to get his job back. Still waiting to hear what happens from the American Federation of Teachers. And we met a lawmaker today who says, listen, enough is enough. She's introducing new legislation. Sherry Gay Danyogo, state representative of the 8th House District, says she is introducing legislation to change the structure of the way Detroit schools operate.
Today I have a blueback with a bill I'm going to submit to amend the PA 436 law that will stop placing emergency managers over any community or any public school in perpetuity. That was not the intent of the law, and so they've used it and misused it by resetting the clock every 17 months and 29 days, and we said enough is enough.
On First at 4 today, we told you how of the many gripes in the Detroit school sick-out hat, one of them is the lack of governing representation that understands the challenges in teaching in a mostly poor urban system.
A majority of them live in districts that don't have African-American majorities or a poor majority, and none of them that are on the education committees are in charge, such as Phil Pavlov or any of his compatriots. Jeff Hansen just made a visit, have come to Detroit and seen any of our schools, good, bad, or in between. I wholeheartedly believe that if Detroit wasn't predominantly African American and predominantly poor, that the situations and the funding and the emergency manager situation would never have taken place.
Today, with 88 Detroit schools closed, teachers took to Washington Boulevard in Detroit to protest in front of Cobo Hall in hopes the president would see them and ask questions about why they were there. Incidentally, let me just throw some quick numbers at you. Of the a little more than 46,000 students in the district, only about 1,500 had school today. There are 3 different organizations running these sick-outs. When you talk to some, they say, hey, they're ready to strike. They're going to take a strike vote. But the teachers we talked to, the majority we talked to, said, listen, they're ready to go back to school tomorrow. They want to give change a chance to happen. But only tomorrow will tell. Back to you.
We'll certainly stay on top of it. Thank you, Paula.
We had early advance notice on closures last night, but not to the extent that they ended up being. The weather has also tried to insert itself into today's stories. It's just a little crowded at the top of the docket here, but
the flakes have been
everywhere.
Is it over? Yeah, we're pretty much done with it. We've got some east side flakes that are left over, and you can see a few of those flying around downtown Detroit. They've been everywhere today, those snowflakes, but they just really haven't come down hard enough or fast enough to really amount to anything. So they've just been floating around the sky, and it's been about it. 21 the current temperature. Winds have been light, so the wind chill not much lower than the temperature right now at 13 degrees. And those two numbers will get closer together as we get through tonight and see those winds start to relax. So we've got a little bit of that snow shower activity still left on the east side, but again, most of this side of the state is dry. We still got those patches of almost persistent lake effect snow going on west of us, and there's not much colder or warmer air really anywhere in the region. Temperatures pretty close together all around the area. In fact, all the way down into parts of Missouri and Iowa, very similar to what we're seeing here with temperatures in the 20s. So we don't anticipate a huge switch in temperatures, but the direction they're going is up, and I think you'll like what we've got in the 7-day forecast coming up. But tonight we will see those clouds break up, so that'll set the stage for at least partial sunshine to start tomorrow morning. Couple extra clouds as we get into the second half of the day, but again, nothing significant. I don't think we're going to see any more precipitation until we get into next next week. So we've got a pretty good dry stretch going here. And again, those temperatures heading up, but a very slow upward direction. 15 tonight. Skies becoming partly cloudy and the winds will die down. They'll be 2 to 5 miles an hour as we wake up tomorrow morning. High of 26, which is better than we did today. Still below average for this time of year. We'll call it partly cloudy, but again, more sunshine in the morning than in the afternoon. And upper 20s in store for Friday and Saturday. Mid 30s there on Sunday and Monday. Got a chance of some snow showers again there early next week, but really nothing significant. What's missing in that forecast are single number lows. Don't have any of those.
Nice.
There's two digits in every box.
Conspicuous by their absence, but I'm fine with it.
I think a lot of people are cool with that.
I don't know why. I was hoping you were going to say spring might have been missing, but
let me go check on that. Maybe I can find that in the weather office somewhere.
All right, thank you, Ben.
Yeah.
Well, we've got an important lead warning every parent needs to hear, not just those in Flint. Ahead at 5, Dr. McGeorge sits down with a local lead expert to find out why this problem persists.
Hi, this is Bernie Smilovich. Justin Upton, the newest Tiger, was in town today, held a press conference, and you will hear from him coming up.